This conversation is brought to you by Modular, the payments automation platform. Hello, I'm Linley Gooden. Welcome to the Future of Utilities podcast. Great to have you with us. Let's talk about the intersection between behavioural economics and the water industry. How does that work? We're about to find out with Armenak Antinyan. Great to have you with us from Thames Water. Armenak, just tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. So I'm Armenak Antinyan, the head of behavioural economics at Thames Water.
Perfect.
So my day job is to study our customers, try to understand why they behave in certain ways they do, and why they don't behave in certain ways they should, and most importantly, try to change this behavior through some interventions.
Brilliant. So before we find out how you found yourself in this intersection of behavioural science and water, just explain the kind of key tenets of the behavioural economics of water.
Okay, so let's speak a bit about behavioural economics. Traditional economics assumes that individuals are rational, so when they're making decisions, they try to maximize their utility and they do things that are really good for them. However, in reality, their life is a bit more complex, so the decisions are not made in a vacuum. There are a number of environmental, social, psychological reasons that are affecting the behavior of individuals.
These are involuntary rather than voluntary.
And these factors are really affecting how we behave. Just one example: if we are filling a form which is too complex, even if we need the form, we may abandon it. Or if we have a dishwasher that is not water efficient and we keep using it without, even if replacing it can help us, for example, save more money in the future. So these type of behaviors are very natural for people, and behavioral economics tries to solve this kind of problems and improve behavior both for the humans as well as for the organizations.
So it's a more complex system. It's not always voluntary. You can't make conscious choices every day of the week. Sometimes things will happen and you'll respond in ways that may be less easy to predict. So how did you find yourself into this area?
I'm coming from an academic background, so I was an econ prof at Cardiff Business School before, and before that I was working in China again as a professor of economics. And during my research, I was always in the forefront of academia and real world, so I wanted to solve real world problems for humans and improve the life through my research. I've done a number of interventions, a number of studies with the Armenian government, this is where I'm coming from, and the UN in Armenia. I work with UN in countries like Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Croatia, and so on and so forth. I've even worked in China with Chinese tax authorities. So I've worked on questions like how to increase cancer screening uptake, how to convince people to do more health checkups, how to convince people to pay more taxes, how to convince people to reduce plastic consumption. And working in the water industry or in the utilities in general, I think is an organic continuation of this work, because I see a lot of room for behavioral science in utilities and the water sector. And that's why I'm actually here, and that's why I want to be part of all of this. And when we speak about behavioral science in the utilities and the water sector in particular, quite often we only think about water efficiency, but it's more complex than that. There are much more questions than one can study, from affordability support to pollution reporting, even cybersecurity within organizations, health and well-being, and so on and so forth.
Look, I mean, my next question would have been, why is this so important? Why are we talking about this right now? But I think you've explained it, is that this has real-world applications, and the complex picture that we live in our everyday lives, you must look at that rather than taking it simplistically like perhaps traditional economics might have done. So why do you think right now we should be talking about our behaviors and understanding what we as consumers want, and how, say, water companies can help us to make decisions that are going to help us down the line?
I think right now is quite the moment, because there are quite some transformations in the water sector, the utilities. There are some technological updates and improvements, and all this can help us as intervention designers to understand our customers better. Just an example, if we roll out smart meters and more customers have smart meters, we can understand their behavior better, and understanding their behavior better, we can tailor the interventions to them. For instance, if there is a leak with the customer, that we can send like a notification, the customer can try to solve this problem if it's a problem of in his or her property. So in a nutshell, these technological advancements allow us to do much more than we could do in the past. Data allows us to do much more than we can do in the past, and using the data we can design really tailored interventions for our customers and make the life more customer-centric for a customer interacting with utilities.
This conversation is brought to you by Modular, the payment automation platform. And Modular automates how money moves, delivering the efficiency, the accuracy and the reliability that your finance operations need to scale. So I don't know what our audience here thinks. I'm going to look for faces and expressions. You know, traditional media campaigns aren't really cutting it. Would you agree? Am I going to get some smiles? Yes, I'm getting some nods here in the audience here at the summit. They don't quite cut it. They don't really touch us. They don't make us feel much. They don't necessarily increase trust in our water companies. Why does behavioral science offer something different? What can that do? You know, how does it show itself so that we make, I'm going to say better decisions. That sounds a bit like education, but how do we make healthier decisions?
So before speaking about awareness-raising campaigns as a mean to reduce water demand, let's just broaden the picture a bit and speak about customer-side interventions, demand-side interventions that water companies can do and how behavioral science can help in this. And then we can jump to awareness-raising, because it's not only about awareness-raising. So when we think about demand-side interventions, I categorize them into 3 different categories. So interventions that are trying to use technology, so smart meters, water-efficient appliances, and so on and so forth. Interventions that are trying to do audits, whether online audits or offline audits. So an offline audit would be understanding whether a customer is using too much water, trying to schedule an appointment with the customer, checking actually whether the appliances and everything is working okay, whether there is a leak at home or not. A similar thing can be done by a customer online, just answering a few questions and trying to see where the water waste is and how it can be fixed. And behavioral science actually can feed into these 2 categories, most importantly. So for instance, using behavioral science interventions, we can understand how we can increase the smart meter rollout. So by understanding why the customers like or don't like smart meters, we can actually tailor our interventions, taking the customer perspective into account.
And how granular can you be? How can you take in that response? Because you need to know where the bottlenecks are, where the problems are, and
so usually I would speak to you if you go into this type of a study, you would organize a focus group or an interview with a group of customers trying to understand the perspective on smart meters. Then you will take this perspective into account. You will consult the literature that can be scientific studies or that can be case studies by other companies or consultancies. So you will take this literature and the customer perspective into account. You will come up with an intervention. And most importantly, you have to test whether this intervention is working or not working. And this testing is an important step because sometimes the behavior is context specific. So what works with Thames Water customers might not really be applicable to customers in other water companies or in other countries. This is the technological part. And then we come to behavioral science and awareness raising. And awareness raising alone, I think it's not really, it should be there, but it's not really going to do the job because it assumes this rational model of the customer, where the customer sees a poster and seeing the poster, they understand that their behavior is not really environmentally friendly, and they try to change their behavior afterwards. So, however, in this simple interaction, there are a number of issues that can arise. The customer might have information gaps. They might not really know what their actual water consumption is. They might be self-confident that they are using much less water than they actually do. The customer might also not really think that this kind of poster is for him or for her. It might attribute it to others, which would actually mean that they are not going to act upon what they see. There might be a complex relationship between a customer and a water company. So a customer might say, okay, why should I really reduce my water consumption? And then, because he or she might not really understand what the water companies are doing to save water. So from that perspective, it is also important, for instance, to create some sort of a reciprocal relationship between a water company or a customer, where if a water company is raising awareness that a customer should reduce water consumption, so like also to emphasize what the water company is doing to save water. And right now, for instance, the sector is doing a lot. We're investing a lot of money to improve the infrastructure, to fix leaks and so on and so forth. And emphasizing this might create sort of a relationship. So in a nutshell, in this very basic poster-customer relationship, like these are just few examples what can go wrong.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because in parallel, it feels like you need to connect in the conversation, in the relationship, you need to connect up what people feel on the outside world, and they're worried about bills, they're worried about maybe climate, they're worried about things that they feel this, but there's a distrust or there's a separation between what a water company is and what I really feel in my own life. So connecting those together and making them feel better. And I'm hoping that you're a TikTok star. That's what I'm hoping for in social media. I'm hoping that that's what you do and people feel better about the business because you're out there doing dances. But what does social media tell us? What does it tell us about the different demographics and what different ages and different demographics feel about this debate? Is there anything there that you can show us from social media responses?
As a scientist, I would consider social media, but I would not only base my decision on social media for one very basic reason. So we usually see people who are very satisfied with the company in social media or very dissatisfied with the company in social media. So this bulk middle, which is doing okay, they are not always active, expressing an opinion or a viewpoint. So from that perspective, social media can be a bit misleading and can provide somewhat false picture of what is going wrong or right. So what we would usually look at is what our customers think. For instance, we have this brand tracking surveys that we look at what our customers do or think about. This is not done by my team, but it's done by the business in general. So my team and the marketing team has initiated, for instance, a regular survey trying to understand actually what the customer opinion on a few important points like pollution, water consumption, and so on is, and how it is changing over time. So we do this survey, for instance, like twice a year, and we do it for a few years, trying to see whether all our interventions, all our work that we are doing is changing the behavior, the attitudes and feelings in the long run or not. So this is how we're trying to take customer perspective into account, and also we're trying to experiment with our customers, trying to see what works and what does not work. Like you mentioned a very nice point that some customers can be worried about bills, some customers can be worried about the environment. So really multiple perspectives that the customers have about water consumption, about water efficiency. And the most important part for us as water companies to understand what is the prevailing viewpoint. If we have to do like one size fits all awareness raising campaign or communication, what should be there? Should it be like an environmental concern? Should it be a financial concern? Should we tell the customers to book an online audit or a physical audit because saving water is important for the environment, or because saving water will reduce their bills? So these are like important questions that experimenting can help us understand and can help us solve, basically.
Or subtly embed them into a piece that actually makes them feel better about themselves and what they can do and their power. Because guilt is never a great convincer for people to do something. It's a way for them to turn off. So actually you need to bring that in subtly. Look, we're coming towards the end of this, but we are about to, in 2026, we're about to, in the UK, hit a hot summer, it looks like. And so I wonder, when the temperature rises, how do you start to reach people so that all of these things that we've talked about, and it seems as though the grey area in the middle, not the extremes on social media, it's that real conversation is where the value is. So how do you start to have a valuable conversation, say, in the run-up to a very, very hot summer?
We have regular water efficiency campaigns that we run during summer. So these are campaigns that are active on social media, radio, TV. So we also reach out people via emails. What has changed so all this is doing like great awareness raising, trying to convince people to use less water. And what has changed with the establishment of the behavioral economics team around 2-3 years ago? So we are actively experimenting within the water efficiency campaigns, trying to understand actually what type of communication, what type of outreach to the customers would would work.
Any early signs of what might be working?
I can tell you like 2 experiments that we've done in the last 2 years. So one was a large-scale email experiment where we tried to understand how we can convince our customers to do these online water audits. Like we have a water saving calculator, how we can convince the customers to go online, answer all these questions, generate a report, and understand where their water waste is.
Yep.
And most importantly, will this have an impact on their water consumption?
Yes.
So what we did, we focused on smart metered customers because we could monitor their water consumption. Then we divided these 400,000 customers, households, into different groups. So a group would receive no email. This would be our control group. There would be a group that would receive just a marketing email. There would be a group that would receive a behavioral email that would have a clear call to action, that would have other type of manipulations in a good sense. Yeah. There was a group about environmental concerns, like, okay, if you do complete the calculator, you are going to help the environment. There's a group about money, so if you complete the calculator and reduce your water consumption, it'll save on your bills. And there was also a group about future generations, like if you're saving water, it's going to help future generations. Yeah. Guess which one worked the best?
You tell me.
It was money. So money was more convincing for people to do the online audits, and it was followed by the environment. So what we did in the campaign last year, so we merged these 2 motives into one email, which was actually telling customers about the importance of environment and about the importance of saving money. Yeah. What we're going next this year, so we're trying to make these interventions and tests a bit more sophisticated. So what the experiment I told you is just the one-size-fits-all communication. So we send an email to everyone within a group, but within this group of people, say, who are receiving a financial letter, there can be different motives. There can be people who are motivated by environment, there will be people who are motivated by money. Yeah. So we just checked what works on average on these people. So what we want to do this year is to make our intervention more tailored. So our data team has come up with a very nice way of segmenting our customers into different groups using data science. And what we are now trying to do is we're trying to run an experiment and check whether tailoring the communication about like completing the calculator and saving water to a specific segment is going to be more powerful than simply sending one-size-fits-all emails in bulk to all of our customers. So, and this will help us understand what we can do in the future. Yeah.
Well, I'll be interested to know what letter hits my mat this summer, and I'll report back to you, Armenak. Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining us in the floor as well. And for now, that's it from the Future of Utilities podcast. Great to have you with us too. See you next time.